Why do they always come back after they've already left you? Why does the same woman who once said she needed space suddenly remember how much she misses you? The questions are simple, but the answers, they live in a place most men never dare to look. Not on the surface, not in the words she says when she returns, but in the silence she left behind. You see, this isn't just about her coming back. This is about you, about who you became when she was gone, because when a woman walks away, something shifts, not just in her, but in you. And that shift, that's sacred. That's where your clarity was born. The real danger? It's not in her return. It's in what her return might tempt you to forget. Your growth, your boundaries, your power. Unless you understand what her return really means, you'll fall right back into the same emotional trap that made her leave in the first place. In today's video, we're breaking down exactly what to do when, not if, a woman comes back after walking away, because many do. But the real question isn't why she's back, it's who you are now. Are you still the man she left, or the one she can no longer predict? This isn't about bitterness, it's about awareness, and if you don't set the tone, she will. So, let's talk about how to handle her return, not with hope, but with strength, not with fantasy, but with truth. You're watching Stoic Station. If this message speaks to where you are right now, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps this truth reach the men who need it most. Now, let's get into it. 1. Her return is not your validation. It's your wake-up call. When a woman returns after walking away, the heart can be quick to interpret it as redemption. It wants to believe the pain meant something, that she finally saw your worth, finally realized what she lost. But before you let emotion answer the door, stop, breathe, ask the question most men avoid. Where was that realization when you were hurting? When you were waking up to silence, checking your phone for nothing, and sitting with the ache of absence she chose? Her return doesn't always mean regret. Sometimes it means convenience. Sometimes it means her distractions failed. Sometimes it's just curiosity. She wants to see if she still has access to the man who once gave her everything without making her earn it. This is the truth most never want to admit. What feels like a second chance could be a second test. And that test isn't about her, it's about you. Because when a woman walks away once, without explanation or empathy, and then comes back without accountability, it's not romance, it's strategy. It's her checking the lock on a door she used to walk through freely. And in that moment, how you respond says everything. The man who has grown doesn't open that door with wide arms and hopeful eyes. He listens to more than her words. He remembers the quiet. He remembers the unanswered messages. He remembers the nights when his pain wasn't met with concern, but with absence. And so he doesn't confuse her return for meaning. He doesn't assume her presence means purpose. Because the truth is this: her return should never be your validation. It should be your warning. A warning that if you're not careful, if you're not clear, you will find yourself exactly where you were when she left, waiting, wondering, and wounded. You need more than affection. You need more than attention. You need evidence through action, consistency, and effort. You need to see that she's not just passing through, but willing to rebuild what she once dismantled. And above all, you need to protect what her absence built inside of you. That strength, that silence, that resilience. It wasn't for her, it was for you. It was the version of yourself that rose quietly in her absence. Don't let her return be the undoing of that. There's no shame in still caring. There's no weakness in remembering the love you once felt. But there is power in making sure that love doesn't blind you to the pattern. Because love that cost you your peace once should never be allowed back in without proving it knows how to protect it now. She can knock, but you decide if the door still exists. 2. Set the tone, or she will. When she reaches out again, after silence, after distance, after choosing to walk away, the first conversation isn't just a casual exchange, it's a turning point. One that quietly decides the power dynamic moving forward. Most men don't realize this. They treat that moment as if it's about reconnection, about getting back to what once was. But it's not. It's about whether you still carry the energy of the man she left, or if you've evolved into someone she no longer fully recognizes. Women don't just hear your words, they feel your presence. They read between your pauses. They notice how quickly you reply, how eagerly you share, how deeply you still need their approval. That's why this moment is not about what you say, but about how effortlessly you don't need to say much at all. The man she left likely tried to explain himself. He tried to fix things. He filled silence with desperation, hoping his vulnerability would reignite her affection. But the man you are now, he speaks less. He listens more. He doesn't try to reclaim the past. He allows the present to reveal everything on its own. That's where your strength is. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to pretend. But you do have to be deliberate. There is nothing more powerful than a man who holds emotional control when emotion is expected. She might test your tone. She might bring up the past, search for familiar reassurance, or bait you into nostalgia. But if she senses that your calm cannot be shaken, that your sense of self no longer revolves around her validation, something inside her will shift. You're not here to convince her of anything. You're not here to reopen wounds under the illusion of healing. You're here to observe, with grounded clarity, if her actions match the intentions she won't put into words. You test her intentions not by demanding answers or dissecting her motives, but by how you carry yourself in her presence. You test her by staying calm, grounded, and slightly detached. That subtle emotional distance tells her something louder than words ever could. You're not the same man she remembers. And that realization is more powerful than any apology she could give, because the man who doesn't try to impress her becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Set the tone, or she will, and if she does, she'll recreate the same dynamic that led to your downfall last time. But if you stand still in your strength, speak only when necessary, and let your presence do the talking, you'll shift the balance. And she'll feel it. Not because you're trying to get her back, but because you've finally remembered who you are. 3. Access is earned, not assumed. When she left, something broke. Not just the relationship, but the trust, the rhythm, the space she once held in your world. And now that she's returned, maybe with a casual text or a soft, "I miss you," it's easy to feel drawn into the familiarity of what once was. But this is where the most important decision begins, not hers, but yours. Because how you respond says more than any speech about your worth. It sets the precedent for what happens next. The truth is, the moment you give her unfiltered access to your time, your energy, and your heart again without any hesitation, you're not showing love. You're signaling weakness. You're telling her that her departure came without consequence, that she can vanish and return and still be met with open arms and an open schedule. And whether you realize it or not, that kind of blind availability erodes respect faster than any mistake you made in the past. If she can come back and pick up exactly where she left off, it tells her you were just waiting around. And waiting men never get respected. You've done the work, haven't you? You've sat in the silence, rebuilt your focus, found your pace again. You've created something stable from the ruins. So why would you tear all that down just because she reappeared? You're not here to prove you're still loyal. You're here to protect everything you've rebuilt. That doesn't mean shutting her out. It means showing her that access to you now is something earned, not assumed. That means not cancelling plans just to see her. That means not dropping everything when your phone lights up. That means staying on schedule, staying on purpose, staying in the flow of the life you've carved for yourself. She needs to feel that she's walking into something that continued in her absence. Something with structure, meaning, and forward motion. A life that doesn't pause just because she presses send. You don't need to be cold. You don't need to play games. But you do need to be measured. You need to respond like a man who values his time, not one who's been holding his breath hoping she'd come back. Because if she doesn't feel the difference in how she has to approach you now, if she doesn't sense that something in you has shifted, then she'll assume nothing has changed at all. This isn't about ego, it's about self-respect. And when that becomes your compass, you'll no longer accept relationships that revolve around convenience or nostalgia. She left once. That alone reshaped the rules. And if you don't reinforce those rules with the way you live, you'll invite the same story on repeat. She's allowed to reach out, but she's not entitled to resume where she left off, not unless she's willing to earn it. And if she is, she'll know it starts with her showing up differently. Because now, the door to your life isn't wide open anymore. It's guarded by the man you've become. 4. Let her actions speak louder than your curiosity. When she comes back after disappearing from your life, the natural urge is to seek answers. You want to know why. Why now? Why after all this time? Why didn't she stay when you needed her the most? But here's the truth that most men overlook. Asking for clarity too soon puts you right back into a position of emotional dependence. It puts her in control, and you in the role of the one still searching for meaning. But this time it's different, because you're different. You don't need to ask why she's back. The answer isn't in her words, it's in her patterns. Her behavior will tell you far more than any explanation she offers, and that's where your greatest strength lies, not in what you demand from her, but in what you observe without giving away too much of yourself too soon. Let your silence speak first. Let your calmness and restraint be the space where her real intentions have to reveal themselves. If you meet her curiosity with your own, if you start seeking emotional validation, you'll blur the clarity you've worked so hard to build. But when you stay grounded, quietly detached, you make it impossible for her to manipulate the energy. Let your silence be the filter that separates truth from temporary emotion. You're not being cold, you're being conscious. Conscious of how easily words can be used to soothe guilt, to regain control, to relight a flame without any intention of keeping it burning. Conscious of the fact that people often reach out not because they've changed, but because they want to see if you have. That's why you don't rush back into deep conversation. You don't start over-explaining. You don't dive into the nostalgia. You wait. You watch. You see if her actions match the present she claims to want in your life. Does she show consistency? Does she show up when it's not convenient for her? Does she respect the boundaries you've set, the energy you've cultivated, the version of you that emerged after she left? Or does she disappear the moment your attention feels familiar again? If she fades when she doesn't get instant reassurance, that tells you everything. Serious women don't breadcrumb. They don't test waters. They build. And women who are unsure only try when they feel you're still within reach, eager, forgiving, and easy to win back. But you're not here to be won back. You're here to be chosen, consistently, intentionally, and with effort. And that kind of selection only happens when you hold your ground long enough for the mask to fall. So don't ask for clarity. Let it reveal itself. Let her presence earn the right to stay in your life. Let her patterns be louder than her apologies. And let your restraint show that you're no longer the man who needs to ask, because now you know how to see. 5. Keep your options and your power open. When she returns, there's a part of you that may instinctively want to shut the door on everything else. Old feelings surface. The memory of connection tugs at you, whispering promises of what could be rebuilt. But this time, you must approach things from a different place. A place of grounded self-worth, not emotional longing. Because loyalty given too quickly is not a sign of strength, it's a surrender of power. And you are not here to surrender. You are under no obligation to close your world for someone who hasn't proven she belongs in it. Not anymore. Her return doesn't automatically earn her access, and it certainly doesn't earn exclusivity. That has to be earned. Slowly, through consistent action, through presence, not promises, through effort, not emotion. Too many men make the mistake of rewarding her reappearance with immediate devotion. They cancel plans. They stop talking to other women. They put their lives on hold as if her return is the end of the story rather than the beginning of a new chapter that still requires reading. But here's what you must remember. She left, and that choice created distance. You are not the same man she once knew, and this is not the same relationship it used to be. She should feel like she's earning your trust and attention again, not simply assuming it's hers because she showed up. You are not being disloyal by keeping your heart and your world open. You are being wise. You are allowing life to continue flowing, not bottling it up in hopes that she stays. Until she shows through repeated action that she is truly committed, you have every right to keep living fully, engaging with new people, exploring new opportunities, and remaining emotionally sovereign. If that unsettles her, let it. If she starts asking questions, let her. If she senses you are not entirely hers, that's not deception, that's discernment. You are not a man who puts someone back on a pedestal just because they decided to return. You are a man who has learned that his energy, attention, and loyalty are sacred. They're not handed out. They're earned. When you keep your options open, you're not playing games. You're protecting the progress you've made. You're living with dignity, not desperation. You're showing her and yourself that your world does not revolve around her anymore. And in doing so, something powerful happens. She no longer sees you as the man waiting to be chosen. She sees a man she now has to win over. A man who moves with purpose, not need. That's the kind of man women respect. And that's the kind of man who never loses himself, no matter who walks in or out of his life. 6. Make her work for the right to stay. Forgiving her is your choice, but letting her back in, fully, emotionally, completely, is something she must earn. The path she walked away from doesn't magically become hers again, just because she turned around. The space she left is not waiting untouched, frozen in time. It evolved. You evolved. And now, if she wants to return, she must meet the version of you who no longer accepts comfort in place of commitment. She left. Whether it was with words or silence, indifference or uncertainty, she made a decision to walk out of your life. And that decision has weight. It doesn't just dissolve with a soft apology or a message that says, "I've been thinking about you." Re-entry is not automatic. It's not guaranteed. It's something that has to be built brick by brick, moment by moment, just like the trust that was broken. You don't have to be cruel. You don't need to punish her or make her beg. But you do need to be clear. Clear that this isn't a rewind button. This isn't a nostalgic shortcut back to where things felt good. This is a new chapter, and in this chapter, your presence comes with standards. If she wants to be in your life again, she needs to feel that it's not automatic. It's not guaranteed. She has to re-earn your trust, your energy, your attention, not with words, but with presence, with consistency, with patience, not through grand gestures, but through the simple act of showing up over time without expectation of immediate rewards. Because here's the hard truth. When you give her everything back too quickly, she doesn't feel honored. She feels entitled. She starts believing you were never really gone. And that realization, that the man she left never emotionally left her, kills respect faster than any past argument. If you want something different this time, you have to be different. That means honoring the man you became in her absence, the man who learned to fill his own silence, the man who found direction without needing her applause, the man who built a life around his values, not around her presence. Let her effort be the proof, not her charm, not her regret, not your loneliness. This isn't about making her jump through hoops. It's about protecting the growth you fought for. You're not closing the door forever. You're keeping it guarded. Because this time, it's not about whether she wants to come back. It's about whether she's willing to do the work to stay. And if she truly values you now, she'll understand why it matters, why it's different, why it's necessary. She'll lean into the process, not run from it. She'll match your clarity with commitment. And if she can't, you'll know she was only returning to what was easy, not what was real. Let your standards be the gate. Let her effort be the key. And never forget, you're not just a man who lost her once. You're the man who found himself in the process. 7. Never revert to the man she walked away from. This is the most important truth you'll need to carry with you. Not just if she comes back, but for the rest of your life. Because everything you've built, your strength, your clarity, your emotional balance, can disappear the moment you slip back into who you used to be. The man she left, the man who made her feel too certain, too comfortable, too in control. The version of you that lived to win her approval instead of honoring your own values. And if you fall back into that version, don't blame her. If you go back to the old you, that's on you. It won't be her presence that undoes your progress. It'll be your own decision to trade growth for comfort. And once that happens, the power dynamic resets. You'll once again find yourself chasing, adjusting, over-explaining, hoping that this time she sees you differently. But the tragedy is this: she can't see you differently if you don't act differently. You're not here to relive a chapter that broke you. You're here to write a new one, with or without her. That means living in a way that reflects your evolution. Not to prove anything to her, but to honor what you've become in her absence. You've built a life that doesn't stop when she leaves and doesn't reset when she comes back. Your routine, your peace, your purpose. They aren't placeholders. They're the new foundation. And when she re-enters your life, she should feel that. She should feel that she's stepping into a world that moves with or without her, not one frozen in time, waiting to be reawakened. She's not the center of your world anymore. Your growth, future, and purpose are. And that doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It doesn't mean you're closed off to love or unwilling to reconnect. It means you refuse to abandon the lessons that pain taught you. Because growth that collapses at the first sign of emotional temptation isn't real growth. It's a pause. And the man who simply pauses until she returns will always lose her again. Let her return be the beginning of your clarity, not the revival of your confusion. Don't let old dynamics sneak in under the disguise of comfort. Don't start texting like you used to, bending your time around her needs, or reshaping your days to match her attention. That's not who you are now. You don't need to punish her. You don't need to lecture her. You don't need to do anything that stems from resentment. All you need to do is stay grounded in the man you've become. And when you do, something powerful happens. She either rises to meet that version of you, or she realizes she no longer has access to the man she once walked away from. You've already done the hardest part. You survived her absence. You rebuilt your mind, your emotional control, your purpose. So don't hand all that back in exchange for a second chance that looks too much like the first mistake. Keep walking, keep building, keep becoming. And if she's meant to walk with you now, she'll show up with alignment, not just interest. But if she doesn't, you'll already be too far ahead to turn back. Because now, you don't live for who stays or who goes. You live for who you've decided to become. If you're in that space right now, where she's come back after walking away, I want to talk to you not as some distant voice, but as someone who's been there. I've sat in that silence. I've looked at my phone wondering if she ever even cared. And when she finally did reach out, a part of me wanted to believe it meant everything I hoped for. But here's what experience taught me. Her return is not the redemption you think it is. It's a test of who you've become. Throughout everything I've shared with you, there's one consistent truth. You are not the same man anymore, and because of that, you don't respond the same way. You don't hand over access, validation, or devotion to someone who hasn't earned it. You observe. You hold your ground. You move with calm and clarity, not emotion. You set the tone. You protect what you've rebuilt. And most of all, you don't fall back into being the man she left behind. So here's the life lesson. If someone walks away from you and then returns, don't measure that moment by emotion. Measure it by who you are now. Let her actions speak. Let your silence filter truth from comfort, and let your standards speak for your evolution. You're not here to be chosen, you're here to choose. Choose peace. Choose strength. Choose the version of you that rose from the pain, and never forget what it took to get there. Before you click away, I want to hear your story. Has someone ever come back into your life after walking away? And if they did, how did you handle it? More importantly, what did it teach you about who you really are? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone because this isn't just about giving advice. It's about building something real. A space where men who've been through it can share, grow, and rise together. Your experience might be the exact reminder someone else needs tonight. And if you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Never go back to the man you had to become just to survive her absence. He was built in silence for a reason. Honor him. Thanks for watching. Stay grounded, stay focused, and above all, stay true to the man you've worked so hard to become. I'll see you in the next one.